Mornings can be hectic. We get it. You're pressed for time, but you still want to stay informed. Let the connector from Boise State Public Radio do the work for you. Every weekday morning, this quick and convenient podcast delivers the top Idaho news stories you need to know, all in the time it takes to brew your coffee or start your commute. No scrolling, no searching, just hit play and get connected. Listen to the Connector Idaho Daily News wherever you get your podcasts.
More Idaho Matters right now from the studios of Boise State Public Radio News. I'm Gemma Gaudet. When the team behind the popular Boise restaurant Petit Four announced they'd be opening a new restaurant in Petit Four's old location, to say foodies in the Treasure Valley were beyond thrilled, I think is an understatement. Sarah Kelly is the chef and co-owner behind this new restaurant, which is called White Rabbit, and she's got a mission to have fun and not burn out. And we're lucky enough to have Sarah joining us now to talk more. Welcome to the program.
Thank you for having me.
So, Sarah, you have had some pretty successful restaurant ventures, from Bluebird Cafe to Petit Four, which I mentioned. And when you closed your doors in 2022, folks really felt that loss. Why did you decide at that time to close?
We were facing many challenges after being closed for a year with COVID and reopening. Just challenges from, constant reservation cancellations to supply issues to really expensive labor wages, that it was just that small restaurant. We had 14 people on payroll, which for small business, that's small business. But to make that small restaurant work, to rely on 14 people was just getting out of control and too much for us to make a successful go at it, to have to rely on that many people to make such a small operation work, that we needed to take a step back and figure out how we can still do what we like, but not have to rely on so many people.
So after taking some time away, what was it that made you decide to relook at opening a new restaurant?
Well, when we were closed, we still had the space, and my husband and I mostly hosted dinner parties at our restaurant for parties of 12 to 16 people. So we were still in it and hosting, good food and wine. But I really like creating food, wine, good service in a really special atmosphere and ambience. And I miss that day-to-day ambience of seeing, customers naturally come in. And so we wanted to get back to doing something like that, but at even a smaller scale than a place called Petit Four. So we kind of needed to refresh and reinvent ourselves in that small space.
Okay, so let's talk about White Rabbit first. How did you come up with the name?
Well, a lot of people think we like Alice in Wonderland, but it's not from there. It's actually multiple reasons why. There's some symbolic things with White Rabbit and cultures, meaning like a fresh start or a new beginning. It also has that kind of whimsical feel and name that, I like, with Bluebird and just kind of the style that we are. And we are in the Bench neighborhood, and there's lots of wild rabbits throughout the Bench, like as many as like maybe you would see squirrels. And so we just thought it's just kind of like a fun name that doesn't paint us in a box of what we are, to kind of give us that freedom of just being just kind of, fun, whimsical, and what is this place?
Okay, and you've got some new rules at this new restaurant. So let's talk about the first one. First come, first serve, no reservations. Why make this decision?
That only lasted for like 3 weeks, and then we had it over. We take reservations now. Boise is just, they're not ready for like, big city places that you can just, pop in or wait. Like people like to have a plan. So we unfortunately, we didn't want to take reservations because we wanted to relieve that stress of it. And, but we're at reservations again.
Okay. But let's say you don't want a reservation and you want to have some of that whimsy. Could you wait for a spot?
Yes. And that's what, I always appreciate the walk-in guests, because our restaurant's very small. We see maybe 30 people, and we only reserve X amount of seats, per hour. And then we leave our kitchen bar and most of the kitchen counter, which is essentially 40% of our seating, open for walk-ins, hoping that we can create that neighborhood feel of people feeling comfortable, just be like, hey, let's pop in and sit at the bar or sit at the kitchen counter. So we strongly encourage people to walk in because, like I said, that's 40% of our nightly business is relying on walk-in customers.
And then you have another rule, which I know sometimes can be a little controversial, and that is 21 and older only. Now, I will say, I am more than happy to take my children to certain restaurants. There are sometimes I do not want to see someone 21 and younger at a restaurant. I like this rule, but I might be in the minority. I don't know.
Well, we've kind of been a little lenient now that we're taking reservations, but the main reason why we did it in the first place is because we were going to be all no reservations. And essentially, you have to be 21 and over by state liquor laws to sit even at the kitchen counter or the bar. And so since it was first come, first serve, we wanted to make sure whoever's, next on the list or walking in could technically legally sit there. Even though we serve food, that's still, a law by the state alcoholic beverage control. And so we wanted to just, we were small and we didn't want to have to, juggle, okay, well, you can't, spot of the kitchen counter is open, but you can't sit there kind of thing. So that's why we made it that.
You, even when Petit Four closed down before White Rabbit opened, you did what was called Coffee and Donuts on Saturdays. Are you still doing this? Because I have to say, I love that.
Oh, thank you. Actually, we are, and we just had it this past Saturday. We're just doing it the first Saturday of the month. When we started Coffee and Donuts at our side window, we used to do it every Saturday. And then since we've been there, there's been 2 coffee shops that have opened up like within a quarter block from us. And at first we were the only place up there, for the neighborhood to walk to like that. And so now we just try to do it once a month and make it special, like a special destination for people to mark their calendars for the first Saturday of the month to come for a Coffee and Donuts. And we do fresh ricotta donuts and coffee and usually like a savory and a couple other treats.
Well, I want to thank you so much. Best of luck to you in this new venture. We've been talking with Sarah Kelly, chef and co-owner of the Boise restaurant White Rabbit. And that'll do it for this episode of Idaho Matters. Thanks so much for listening. And just a reminder, you can find all of our episodes wherever you get your podcasts.
If you like podcasts like this, explore more from the Boise State Public Radio podcast family. There you'll find a mix of daily news, Idaho voices, and in-depth series on a wide range of topics. I'm talking wild horses, political scandals, sustainable ranching, and militia groups in a post-January 6th world. Wherever you get your podcasts, just search Boise State Public Radio to find what Idaho's NPR station has in store for you.